What's going on, you guys? So today I'll be installing the 271 strut tower bar plus the 271 master cylinder brake brace for the 11th gen Civics, as well as the 5th gen Integras. So let's go ahead and unbox this thing and go from there. Here it is. So we got a 271 installation instructions on here. Then we have the brake brace, which is inside of here. And then let's go ahead and take the strut bar out of here. This is really well packaged as well, which is nice. And here it is. And we might as well get the brake brace off out of here as well. There we go. 271 sticker. And we got some bolts and nuts in here, and then the brake brace is in here as well. And here it is. Here's a closer look. Man, the wrinkle black powder coat on here is really nice, and the welds on here are really nice as well, with the 271 logo right here. So this is a 4x weld contact points on each end to reduce unwanted chassis flex, which is what we want from a strut bar, and the master cylinder brake brace as well in wrinkle black. This is really clean with the 271W logo here, and this fits all trims, by the way, which I'll put a picture up here, and it can even fit the Alpha 5 Civic Type R or the DE4 Acura Integra Type S chassis, which is an easy on and off with only 6 bolts, so it should be a pretty simple install. And when I was thinking about getting this, I might as well get the master cylinder brake brace as well, which will go right here. And this was covered with styrofoam earlier, but it'll be 2 bolts, and it attaches there. And what it does is it sits in front of the master cylinder in your car to reduce the movement of it, to improve the feeling of your brake pedal, which is going to be good since you'll get more feedback when you're using your brakes. Without further ado, let's go ahead and install these 2 things, and then I'll go ahead and review them afterwards as well. So before we actually install the front strut tower bar from 271, we're actually going to go ahead and put on the master cylinder brake brace just to make it easier for us later down the installation process. So you're going to grab the M6 nut and bolt that's provided with the washers in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually align the holes of the master cylinder brake brace onto here first, and the washers are going to go in between the front strut tower bar and the master cylinder brake brace. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is what I mean. I got the washer sandwiched in between here and also on this side. So to get started, you are going to go ahead and find the 3 flange nuts here, and you'll need a 14mm socket to get these off from the driver's side as well as the passenger side over there. So let's go ahead and remove these first. So I used a ratchet wrench and an impact wrench on these bolts, and they're not moving. So I went ahead and used some PB Blaster just so it can sit and soak on there for a little bit. So hopefully this will help with a little persuasion to get these things off. So we'll let it sit for a little bit and come back to it. So I got most of them loosened up except for this one over here. So I put more PB Blaster, and it just does not want to move. But these are good to go. It's just this is the only one that's giving me trouble. And I finally got all of them off. This one was a pain, the one that was stuck in the corner, but let's go ahead and get the strut bar and put it onto the car. So once you grab your strut bar, we're going to go ahead and face it this way. I'm just going to put it on top of the studs here, just like that. There we go. So when placing the strut bar, just make sure it sits on top of the studs here, and make sure it's also the same on this side. So before moving on, we got to make sure that there's enough space between the strut bar and the battery cable right here. So to do that, you're going to go ahead and flex the cable towards you a little bit. And if that doesn't really work, what I did was I zip tied it around here onto the battery tie down, just to create a little bit more clearance between the battery cable and the strut bar. So now what you're going to do is you're going to grab the OEM 14mm flange nut, and we're just going to go ahead and put them on here. And then we're going to torque each of one of these to 53 to 55 pound-feet of torque. And I'm probably going to do 54 just so it's right in the middle of the torque specifications, or you could do whichever you want to do as long as it's 53 to 55 pound-feet of torque. So let's go ahead and torque these down. Same thing on the passenger side. So once you have both sides torqued down, we're going to go ahead and take this vacuum hose here that's touching the front strut tower bar, and we're going to go ahead and zip tie it to this hose right here. And when zip tying this, you want to make sure it's pretty loose. You don't want to damage the hose itself. And the reason why we're zip tying it so we can stop the hose from rubbing with the front strut tower bar from 271, which is what we don't want. We're going to push this down, and then we're going to put a zip tie here. So here's a closer look. Zip tied it around here, and it's not touching the front strut tower bar anymore, so we're all set there. Let's go ahead and move on to the master cylinder brake brace. So after you have the front strut tower bar on, the master cylinder brake brace will look like that, and it will go against the master cylinder over there. So there's going to be two 10mm bolts on here. So the one that's closer to the master cylinder, we're going to go ahead and turn that clockwise until it is nice and firm onto the master cylinder over there. And then the one that's on the brake brace, we're going to go ahead and twist it counterclockwise just to set everything secure and tight on there. So once you have it all set, it'll look like that. Just make sure that each nut that you tighten is pretty snug towards the master cylinder, and then the brake brace itself right there, and you should be all set. And here it is. So once you have everything set, it is super easy to install, and the fitment on this is super flush since it's a direct bolt-on. And also, if you plan on getting an oil catch can or a flex fuel kit in the future, you'll actually have enough room back here, which is really nice. And on top of that, if you have coilovers for camber adjustments, both ends are actually open-ended as well, so that's a very easy access right there. After driving it for a couple of days, the front end of the car does feel stiffer and better planted around the corners with the 271 strut tower bar on. And along with the brake brace, when you're actually hitting the brakes, it feels more responsive and the feedback is great. And what I like about having one of these master cylinder brake brace from 271 is the fact that braking feels more firm and sturdy, and it's very solid when you're pressing on it compared to the OEM, especially around corners and curves. So you have more confidence in your braking, and it looks great, which is a big plus. Now the reason why I chose this strut bar from 271 is the fact that it is a one-piece design, since other three-piece designs out there are weaker, and the welded twin tube right here is what makes it the strongest strut bar on the market right now. Plus it looks slick with the wrinkle black powder coat on there, and it's not crazy bulky as you can see. But that's pretty much it for the 271 strut tower bar and the master cylinder brake brace from them. Overall, I love how this thing looks. I feel like it completes it more with the 271 look in my engine bay right now. And I've heard so many good things about the strut bar and brake brace, and they weren't wrong whatsoever. So I highly recommend this as a first mod, or if you're looking for something that's budget friendly to start with. Your car will feel so much better, and it'll have improvements with style with 271. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and as always, stay safe and drive safe out there, and I'll catch you on the next one.